Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Amna Gul from the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. We're back with the course Communication Theories 2, bearing the code GMC 312. It's our 7th lecture, and the topic today is Understanding Theories. In this lecture, I'll try to give you an understanding of what mass communication theory is or what theories are. We'll start off with understanding what is theory, then we'll move towards communication theory, and then we'll move a bit further as well. So let's start off with a very journal perspective. Have you ever wondered how did the universe begin? Like, where did it all come from? There's so many people who have different perspectives for it. For example, the scientists, the theologians, and educators. They've been debating this topic for centuries. Now we do have our religious elements as well, that is theology. But apart from that, have you ever wondered how did this universe begin? And even if you go with your religious concepts, did you go into the details? Now, a common place for this debate occurs in school textbooks. You have gone through this thing yourselves. It is a big debate. Should the textbooks teach creationism or the Big Bang Theory? How you answer this question depends on the theoretical perspectives you hold. In either case, your theoretical perspective includes some common features, for example, reasons to justify your theory and evidence you use to support that it is correct. So the creationists cite religious texts as proof of their theoretical perspective. Since it is in the religious text that the universe was created. So that is the creationism side. Okay, and for that matter, for that theory, what is the proof? That is the religious text. Advocates of the Big Bang Theory, you know the Big Bang Theory, you have gone through it in your science books in school. So advocates of the Big Bang Theory argue that the Earth emerged 13.7 billion years ago and cite the continued expansion of space, which is the Hubble's law, as verifiable proof that this theory is correct. But how do we know which theory is right? Now, I'll leave it. Now, let's apply the same reasoning to communication. Think about the many ways you develop and try to answer questions about the right ways to communicate. For example, you might have seen in your personal life that you have come up with certain theories when to communicate to Abuji and when to communicate to Ami. In which tones you can talk to your father, in which tones you can talk to your mother. So you yourself have created certain theories about communication. This is a journal introduction. I want to leave the intricacies of the theoretical debate between creationism and the Big Bang Theory to our colleagues in physical sciences, or the ones in religious studies and the ones in philosophies. I didn't actually intend to answer this for you. I just wanted to create this question. I just wanted it to be thought-provoking for you so that you start thinking about theories. So, we'll use this lecture to explore theoretical issues relevant to the study of communication. So, about the creation of the universe or the beginning of universe, we are leaving it for the other disciplines, and we'll move towards communication theory. Now, I just said that you use communication theory. Like I said, you think about how you can communicate to Abu, how you can communicate to Ammi, like what works with your father doesn't necessarily work with your mother. So, when I generally mention the word theory to my students or to you people, I often watch your eyes glaze as if it is the most boring thing we could talk about. And students sometimes have the misperception that theory has absolutely no relevance in their lives. But did you know that you use and test theories of communication on a daily basis, as I just mentioned earlier as well? Whether you know it or not, your theories guide how you communicate. Your theories. I'm not talking about any theory proposed by any philosopher, any scholar, any scientist. No, I'm talking about your theories. Yes, your personal theories guide how you communicate. For example, yes, you may have a theory that um, heighted people are harder to talk to than less heighted people. This is a theory. For example, you might have this theory that if you have to look up to someone who is quite heighted than you, so you find it difficult to talk to that person as compared to someone who is on your eye level. Now, if this is just a theory that you might have, I've just proposed one, okay? Or so if you believe this is true, you're probably missing opportunities to get to know entire groups of people just because you have a theory that heighted people are difficult to talk to or harder to talk to. Same is the case. Many people have this issue. They have a theory that well-dressed people are not good listeners. So whenever they see someone who is very well dressed, who's what we use the term suited booted, so they find it difficult to talk to that person because they have this theory that such people are not good listeners, or they snub others. So our personal theories guide our communication, but there are often problems with them, as I just mentioned. That, for example, if you have a theory that the heighted people are harder to talk to, or the well-dressed people are snub others, so this might lead you into problems, because our theories are generally not complete or sophisticated enough to help us fully understand the complexities of the communication in which we engage. Therefore, because we have based our theories on our personal experiences, on our personal observation, and we have not tested those, or actually we have not opened those to others for their inputs. So, therefore, it is essential that we go beyond personal theories to develop and understand ones that guide both our study and performance of communication. So, no doubt we have our theories, and our theories might be very appropriate as well for us in our own perspectives, in our own setups, in our own situations, in our own culture. But we need an understanding of the theories that are universally acceptable, or actually that have been backed by a lot of research. So actually they can guide our performance as well. If we use those theories, there the probability is more, we have more chances of success in our communication. So now, if we have had such a big discussion about theory, but the question is, what is theory? So before we get into the functions theories perform for us, let's define what we mean by theory. There's so many definitions out there once again, but we'll stick to some very basic ones. And once you get an understanding, I'll revisit all these things a little later into the course as well. Okay, this is just the basic level, and then we'll move forward as well. Now, Hoover defined theory as a set of interrelated propositions that suggest why events occur in the manner that they do. Now, it's a very simple definition. Basically, the thing that these are certain propositions that are related, which suggest, which actually tend to explain why certain things happen. The way those things happen, it is generally certain propositions about why those things happen that very particular way. Now, Foss and Griffin defined theory as a way of framing an experience or event, an effort to understand and account for something and the way it functions in the world. And this is a bit bigger one, longer one. The first part of the definition, a way of framing an experience or event. So Foss and Griffin take theory as a certain way of framing an experience or an event, how they take a certain thing. Then, an effort to understand and account for something and the way it functions in the world. So it doesn't limit itself to, for example, theories are not just for communication only. So theories are an effort to understand something and the way that something functions in the world. So it is once again theories actually give us more understanding about the world we live in. If I were to explain it, I would say that theories are a way of looking at events, organizing them, and representing them. Simple. Now, whatever those events are, theories are a way of looking at those events. So, for example, there can be 3 different ways of looking at the same event. Okay, and same the other thing that I said, it's a way of organizing them. Once again, there can be 5 different ways of organizing different events. Representing them, the third point was representing them. Once again, there can be several ways of representing those events. Now take a moment to reflect on the elegant simplicity of these 2 definitions by Hoover and Foss and Griffin. Any thoughts or ideas you have about how things work in the world or your life are your personal theories. See, you also have, for example, thoughts and ideas about how things work in the world. For example, you might have a theory. Yes, so many people in the current scenario have this theory that if you want the kids to remain silent, you need to give them screen time. See, so for example, so many people have this theory, so I know about it. So these are our personal theories because we tend to have tried this at home. For example, you might have tried it with your nieces and nephews, or some of you might have younger siblings at home, or some of you might have children at home. So once again, I know some of you might be teaching at some places, giving tuition lessons, whatever. So have you had this experience that if you give screen to the kids, they're like completely silent, they're least bothered about the surroundings, what's happening and what's not happening? Now, this kind of our personal theories, these theories are essentially our framework for how the world works and guide us how we function in the world. You can begin to see how important it is that your theories are solid. As you'll see, I'll explain later as well. Well-developed communication theories help us better understand and explain the communicative behaviors of ourselves as well as others. So if the communication theories are well developed, they help us understand as well as explain the communicative behavior not only of others but of ours as well. And it is very important that being from the communication background, we understand all these theories, so these can make things quite easy for us that those explain all these things. Now, while theories in many disciplines can be hard for some to understand, in a field like communication, our theories are important to understand because they directly impact our daily lives. Theories of communication are not for those only who are belonging to, who belong to the profession of mass communication or communication. Theories of communication are actually needed in, for example, all organizational communication, all jobs, all workplaces, they all need theories of communication. All mass media needs theories of communication. All organizations, all businesses, even families, even relationships, even your Facebook, these all need theories of communication in order to understand human behavior, human communication, and to make proper choices. So communication theory is something that is relevant to each and every discipline. For example, there is someone let's suppose someone who is a doctor. Now, what's the function of communication theory for a doctor? See, the doctor needs to know interpersonal communication. For him, a better understanding of dealing with the patients is once again helpful. So knowing what works, we had a discussion about these things earlier as well, that there are certain, for example, people from different professions. Let's suppose it's a doctor, and we say he's such an expert doctor, but he's like he talks rude, he gets angry at the patients. So once again, here there is need for communication theory for the doctor to understand what kind of communication actually helps in not only healing the patients, but also making it easier for them to visit the doctor again and again. See, so in this respect, since this serves several functions in guiding our communication, we'll discuss these functions one by one. The first function now, we're more concerned about communication theory. Okay, so I'm discussing the functions with the perspective of communication theories only. No doubt the functions of all the theories are kind of similar, but our discussion is focusing on the functions of communication theories. The first function theories serve is that they help us organize and understand our communication experiences. We use theories to organize a broad range of experiences into smaller categories by paying attention to common features of communication situations. Let me come again. Communication theories, they help us organize and understand our communication experiences. Now, whatever communication that we have with someone, theories actually help us in organizing it and understanding those experiences so that we may know how things work. Now, there might have been many times that you have surfed the net and found articles or quizzes on relationships and what they mean for different genders. Deborah Tannen, author of You Just Don't Understand Women and Men in Conversations, argues that men and women talk in significantly different ways and for significantly different reasons. Now, she theorizes that men and women, they not only talk in different ways, those are significantly different ways, but even their reasons for that talk, for that communication, are also different. Of course, these differences cannot be applied to all men and all women. But theories on gender communication help us organize and understand the talk of the different genders in a more simplified context, so we can understand general patterns of communication behavior. Now, this helps us make appropriate decisions in gendered communication situations. Now, for example, no doubt it was about gender communication, but for example, we all have both genders in our families, in our workplaces, in our universities, in all the different dealings that we have. Or for example, you run a Facebook page or you have a vlog and you have different kind of audience. Now, the kind of messages that you get from them or the kind of feedback that you get from them, you cannot weigh both the same way, because men are, for example, more direct in their communication. Women are, for example, not that direct. They tend to beat around the bush, for example. Okay, so now this is one theory. Tannen has just given the example that I gave you is a theory by Tannen regarding gender communication. So once again, it helps us organize and understand our communication experiences. Now the second thing. A second function of theories is that they help us choose what communicative behaviors to study. Theories guide where we choose to look, what we look at, and how we look at communicative phenomena. Theories focus our attention on certain aspects of phenomena. If you find that Tenon's theories regarding how men and women talk differ from your own perceptions, or you feel that these theories are outdated, you might choose to more closely study the talk or even the nonverbals of men and women to see if you can rectify the difference in theoretical perspectives. See, so theories actually give us room or give us a choice of what to study. So you may approve of what Tennant said, you may disapprove of, you might want to check that, you might want to challenge that. It's once again your thing, but you get a direction. You likely already do this on a personal level. For example, Googling something as simple as how to act in a relationship will lead you to hundreds of websites and articles breaking down the dynamics of relationships depending on one's gender. No doubt there will be very few, for example, talking about the gender in terms of your mother and your father. But I would love if someone amongst you could work this out. For example, so many of the young generation has, like, there's so many students, or not even the students, the youth, a large chunk of youth has trouble talking to his parents. I'm saying his in a journal term, specifically talking to fathers. They're more conversant with their mothers. Male students, they usually have trouble talking to their fathers. Fathers are relatively strict. So have you ever wondered if you could come up with a theory for talking to your father? What works there, what doesn't work? See, so for example, if you want to persuade someone to do something for you, you probably have a theory about what strategies you can use to get them to do what you want. For example, you want a new bike. So you must be knowing, if you've got a bike, I hope you already know how to convince your mother and how to persuade your father. So whom to contact first, how to do it. You people are too good at it. Getting a new cell phone, or even, for example, choosing journalism as your university degree, choosing the discipline of journalism. You might have gone through a lot. So for these things, you have already, like, your theories guide how you approach your persuasive attempts and what you look for to see if you were successful or not. So whenever you persuade someone, you actually go through a lot of these persuasive strategies, and over the passage of time, you have learned what works with, for example, Ami, what works with Abu, what works with friends, and stuff like that. So moving towards the third function, see how relevant these are to your personal life. I'm just breaking it down to this level, that it is to your level, and then we'll go into the more scholarly details. Okay, the third function of theories is that they help us broaden our understanding of human communication. Now, scholars who study communication share theories with one another, be it online or through books or journal articles, and they present at conferences. So, the sharing of theories generates dialogue, which allows us to further refine the theories developed in this field. Now, let's take the example of, once again, Tenon. Tenon's book allowed the public to rethink the personal theories they had about the communication of men and women. As I said earlier, it is up to you. For example, you like the theory, you approve of it, you disapprove of it, you test it, you challenge it, you make amendments. That's all up to you. So, with the opportunity to find countless theories through new books, magazines, the internet, and TV shows, the general public has the opportunity to find theories that will influence how they understand and communicate in the world. So, as I said, theories broaden our understanding of human communication. So we have so many avenues to get these theories from. But are these theories valid and useful? It's likely that you discuss your personal theories of communication with others on a regular basis to get their feedback. For example, you might have a theory once again about your parents. This works and this doesn't work. So if you discuss that with, for example, your siblings, be those your elder ones or the ones younger to you, you might get their feedback about what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So this is it. Now the next function. A fourth function of theories is that they help us predict and control our communication. Yes, theories help us predict as well as control our communication. When we communicate, we try to predict how our interactions will develop so we can maintain a certain level of control. Imagine being at a party and you want to talk to someone that you feel can help you network for future job prospects. For example, you are in the mass media industry and there's someone who seems to have a lot of contacts, and that person might help you network for example, future job prospects. So you want to talk to that person. Now, you will use some sort of theory about how to talk to others to approach this situation in order to make it more successful. For example, you might have a certain theory how you can actually talk to someone who is holding a better post, who has more contacts as compared to you are. What is your position? How do you actually market yourself? How do you talk to that person? So you might have some sort of theory about that. As in all situations, the better your theoretical perspectives, the better chances for success when communicating. So if your theoretical perspective or if your theory about communicating to someone is appropriate, then there are more chances that you will be successful in that communication. While theories do not allow us to predict and control communication with 100% certainty, they do help us function in daily interactions at a more predictable and controlled level. Notice that when you are successful or unsuccessful in your interactions, you use this information to assess and refine your own theoretical perspectives. Now, let's imagine, for example, who visits you. Let's imagine there are 2-3 bureau chiefs from Peshawar, from different news organizations from Peshawar, coming over to visit us. So you might want to contact them, you might want to talk to them, maybe for your future internship. So you might have a theory about it, how to approach that person, how to start your communication, what to say. So whatever you do, on the basis of your experience, whether you are successful or you're unsuccessful in that communication, in that interaction, you use that information to assess and refine your theoretical perspectives. If something didn't work for you in the first place, you might consider changing that pattern. You might consider changing that theory. And if something works, so you get more proof that this theory is appropriate. So that is the kind of thing that works. Okay, a fifth function of theories is that they help us challenge current social and cultural realities by providing new ways of thinking and living. People sometimes make the mistake of assuming that the ways we communicate are innate rather than learned. This is not true. See, the way we communicate is not just innate, it can be learned. So many people learn it. So it is both. In order to challenge the communicative norms we learn, people use critical theories to ask questions about the status quo of human communication, particularly focusing on how humans use communication to bring advantage and privilege to particular people or groups. For example, let's take the example of Tannen once again. Tannen argues that when men listen to women express their troubles, they listen with the purpose of wanting to provide a fix or to give advice. Tannen argues that many times women are not looking for advices or a fix, but rather empathy or sympathy from their male conversational partners. So, with this understanding, it's possible to begin teaching men new strategies for listening in cross gendered conversations that serve to build stronger communication ties. Critical theories challenge our traditional theoretical understanding, providing alternative communicative behaviors for social change. While theories serve many useful functions, these functions don't really matter if we do not have well developed theories that provide a good representation of how our world works. That's all for today. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.